The Wall Street Journal is reporting some new information about NX, most importantly that Nintendo is sending out dev kits to third-party studios. The timing is particularly interesting since rumors we heard back in the summer stated that NX would begin production in October, and here we are. They also say that the NX will contain, quote, industry-leading chips, as Nintendo has taken criticisms about Wii U's tech to heart and wants to make a really powerful console. Finally, they confirmed the long-running rumors that NX will feature a companion device that you can play with the console at home or take on the go as its own unit. The Wall Street Journal also says Nintendo is planning to launch the NX in 2016, although that last bit of information is based on inside analysis and speculation rather than their confirmed sources. Now, one of the interesting things that's come out of this is the whole, industry-leading chips, that Nintendo really wants to make a powerful console. The journalist who wrote this piece actually clarified that they heard from an inside source who's seen a tech demo from NX that it was extremely impressive and would be impossible to have accomplished without cutting-edge hardware. Now, Liam, I know one of the big things that you've got attention for in the past is these comments on Twitter that said Nintendo is not actively trying to compete with PlayStation 4. I'm wondering if you have some thoughts on this power.
Well, I'm kind of skeptical about it, but the way they've worded this whole article, from what I remember, was very vague and like industry-leading chips. What does that mean? That's completely subjective. And so yeah, it remains to be seen what this actually means. It's just kind of like a load of rumour for now, but this does contrast with what I've heard. And I will say this, I've spoken to engineers who are actually working on this right now.
On the NX?
Yeah, on whatever that is. And this just doesn't mesh with what I've heard. What they were saying was that it's not going to be a weak console by any means, but they're definitely not trying to be, a powerhouse competing with the PS4, and that was the kind of the general sentiment of what they were saying in regards to how powerful it was. And I sort of get the impression from what they were saying, they were being very vague as well, I must say, because, nobody wants to let the cat out of the bag this early, but they were kind of hinting at that it will... I think he said something like it would do something that nobody's ever done before, so there's no kind of like precedent for it, there's no kind of point of comparison. So I kind of get the impression that we could see something very unique, like it is, part handheld, part home console. That kind of makes sense, I guess. I could see that maybe happening. That sounds a bit Nintendo-y, but yeah, I imagine whatever, kind of new gimmick or whatever they've got planned for it will, that will add on to the total costs. And Nintendo got bit with the Wii U. They made it too expensive, and it was just out of reach to a lot of people who were planning to buy the PS4 and the Xbox One. So I think they're going to go, like they did with the Wii. They're going to angle it as like a lower cost console, I think, if it is a console.
Yeah, and in clarifying the whole industry-leading chips thing, it doesn't sound like the Wall Street Journal's source has seen a spec sheet or anything. It sounds like they just watched a demo, and based on the demo, they believe it has industry-leading chips. So, but, a demo, it can be a little deceiving, not, maliciously so, but just when you have something pre-rendered, running as a demo that's being watched by people that are then going to go talk about it, obviously you're going to put your best foot forward, you're going to have something really impressive looking prepared.
Ben, when have game companies ever misled the marketplace with unrealistic tech demos?
That has never happened. But, I remember when Wii U was first shown off at E3 2011, and they had this demo of, like, a bird flying over a lake and landing on a tree, and everyone was just blown away by how beautiful that looks. But what you see in a tech demo isn't necessarily representative of what you will see in games. Being blown away by a tech demo isn't proof that the hardware is, above PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. It's just proof that it's decent hardware, and that Nintendo knows how to throw a tech demo together.
Right. So yeah. I'm assuming, just given this conversation, that we're all sort of on the same page. It's likely not quite up there still with the other consoles, because I know a lot of people, for example, Liam, when you were saying that they were not trying to compete with PlayStation 4, a lot of people were sort of clinging to this idea, well, it means that they're going to be a lot better than PlayStation 4. Like, PlayStation 4 won't even be able to compete with Nintendo.
That's very wishful thinking, projecting on the part of those people.
I just want to, it seems to be we're all on the same page that that's still wishful thinking. Even though these reports are saying that it's cutting edge technology, it's not quite gonna be, leaps and bounds ahead of what we have.
No, it's just not viable to do that. To put out this like mega powerful console that outperforms the PS4 and that. It's just there's no market for that for Nintendo. I mean, a lot of the people who buy Nintendo consoles are families and that kind of thing, and it's I mean I don't mean to devalue Nintendo's products, but a lot of like kids buy them and that kind of thing, and it's like a lower cost alternative to the other consoles and that kind of thing with the 3DS and the DS and that kind of thing. So I just can't see them doing that. I think it's a bit suicidal to go with like really powerful console.
And because it's in the middle of a generation, it's that makes the need that they will have to persuade people that it's worth upgrading to their console that much greater. And if it's just going to be sort of on par with like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, that's going to be a really tough sell.
Nintendo's audience is used to, the cheaper stuff, and Nintendo tries to appeal to families that are on a budget and things like that. So if they're trying to keep their own audience, then going to expensive is going to be a problem. And if they're trying to attract a new audience, if they want to attract those people that are willing to spend $400+ on a console, well, now you're competing with Microsoft and Sony directly and on their own turf, instead of sort of just having your own little side audience. Right. And Microsoft and Sony have been marketing expensive consoles for a decade now. They know how to get people to buy expensive tech, whereas that would be pretty new territory for Nintendo.
Yeah.
I think that was what I was trying to say, just expressed a lot more eloquently.
So I think we would all agree too that Nintendo's biggest challenge for the next generation is really having wide platform market share, because right now they've really got a divide between their console and their handheld. And one of the ways that they could sort of bridge that divide is making that cross-platform architecture so that everyone's buying into the same ecosystem. So I could see the industry-leading chips being not industry-leading in the sense of like power performance, but in the sense of scalability between like a console and a more mobile sort of architecture.
Yeah, they definitely could have something like that, but that doesn't sound like what this source was saying. They were saying industry-leading based on a demo, which that's a little different territory.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we have these sort of divergent sources where one of them is telling us, oh, it's industry-leading, but they're not clarifying, and then another source is telling us, oh, it's impressive, but there's no real clarity on what the bridge between those two is.
Right.
Hello everybody, thank you for listening to this Nintendo Week clip, NWC. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to us here on YouTube for more highlights and discussion videos from Nintendo Week podcast, or subscribe to us on iTunes for weekly breakdowns of all your Nintendo news, discussion segments on subjects, games, and more, and tons of other features. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow with another NWC.